Hi there. So today we're going to talk about determining what it is that you want. So it's really hard to create a life vision if you don't know what you'd like. So the first thing we need to do, we have a few steps here. The first thing is to really get to know ourselves. So how do we do this? Going through your journaling process can really help with this. We basically need to start figuring out what drives us, what gets us going, what things in our day feel really good and we enjoy, and what parts of our day we absolutely hate or we feel like we're just going through the motions. So that's step one, is just start to get to know yourself a little bit more and get things out on paper if you need to help you realize that. The second part is learning our own language. So oftentimes, well, not oftentimes, all the time, we are speaking to ourselves. We have this internal dialogue going on in our head. And how we speak to ourselves is completely different to how we would speak to others. We would never say out loud the things to another person that we say to ourselves. And most often not, we wouldn't allow someone else to speak to us the way we speak to ourselves either. So learning our own language and how we speak to ourselves is a huge part of this process. So again, with our journaling, you can really start to become aware. So maybe going back in your journal for the last 2 or 3 days and start just paying attention to the words that you use all the time and highlight them, whether it's I can't do this, or I hate doing this, or these things are making me sad, right? The more you can be aware of the language that you are using, the less often it will happen. When we become aware, our unconscious mind automatically stops or slows down using those words because now we're aware of them, and we become present when we start actually talking to ourselves that way. And then the next part is to eliminate your limits. So once we realize how we're speaking to ourselves and the things that we are wanting and knowing about ourselves, things that we like and dislike, then we need to get rid of any limits, the things that are holding us back. So how do we do that? Again, it's awareness. It all comes back to awareness. So we need to start being aware of our past stories, these things that we believe to be true in our head. And once we are aware of those, then we need to release from them. So we all have these stories that are holding us back in our life. So maybe it's a story that, maybe it has to do with finances. Maybe you were taught growing up that those who have money are greedy or selfish. So you have become very aware of not making too much money because you don't want to appear greedy or selfish to the public or to others, right? And that's an internal story that you may not even be aware of, but when you start to think about it, you're like, oh yeah, that was something that was taught to me numerous times as I was growing up, right? And then you realize that story, and you realize that actually internally and unconsciously that story has been holding you back from making a good living. So it could be stories around food, it could be stories around exercise, it could be stories around your self-worth, it could be all sorts of things. So we need to become aware of those stories and then release from the stories that are holding you back. So those are the 3 steps that I want you to really start focusing on to help determine what it is that you want.